Hey everybody, Kris Gethin here. Now, if you're over the age of 35, like myself, your enzyme levels have already begun to decline. Enzymes are the workhorses of digestion. They break down your food into usable macro and micronutrients. Now, research shows that the time that someone hits 65 years old, their saliva and pancreatic secretions, both of which involved in enzyme activity, have declined by as much as 50%. Now, if you've looked at my Instagram posts, my stories, you'll notice that quite often if I'm eating out, if I'm having a steak or something like that, I am eating my Masszymes by Bioptimizers. Now, the reason why I take this is because it has over 102% more proteins than the nearest competitor and 300 to 500 more per serving the most popular brands. Now, this is crucial because as us being bodybuilders or athletes, we require a lot of protein. And it isn't just about how much you eat, it's always how much you absorb. So you got to break it down. So not only does the Masszymes contain more proteins, it also contains 13 additional enzymes, including lipase for fat digestion, which work at a very high pH level from 2 to 12. In other words, at every state of digestion. So you can try this right now today, risk-free. They're 365 day, let me get that right, 365 day full money back guarantee is the gold standard. So if you feel that Masszymes are going to help you upgrade your digestion like mine and power through your food, their support team will give you a no question asked refund. And when you go to masszymes.com/Kris20, be sure to enter that coupon code Kris20 to receive a 20% discount off that order. Okay, everybody, Kris Gethin here, and welcome to another episode of the Knowledge and Mileage podcast. Now, if you've been following me on my socials, and if you haven't, you should have, you would have probably seen me guzzling down bottles of wine, but not the typical wine that you would think. That is because you would have seen me with what's called the FitVine. You would have even seen me at Christmas giving my family bottles of this because everybody drinks wine, but I obviously want to look after my friends and family, so I, give them FitVine. So, these are the bottles that you would have seen them open, and thankfully today I have managed to twist the arms of the co-founder, Tom Beaton. Thank you very much for joining me on the show, Tom.
Chris, I'm pumped to be here. It's great to be on your podcast.
Pumped up, baby. That's what I like to hear. So, as I mentioned, this is a very unique type of vine. But before we actually get into the FitVine, I should say wine, please tell us a little bit about yourself, Tom, and how you got into this industry and how it kind of meandered into the wine industry.
You got it. So my business partner and I, Mark Warren, we're getting older. We were in our 30s, closing in on 40, over 40 now, and doing CrossFit, doing occasional 5Ks, runs, mud runs, etc., doing all this stuff, still enjoying, occasional alcoholic drink. And I was drinking more and more wine, and I do a run, I do one of these mud runs or go to a CrossFit competition, and I just never saw any wine available after the race. And I was like, I want to build a product that I want, that you and I want, Mark. So let's do this. So we hooked up with a great pal of mine out in Lodi, California, named Alan Lombardi. And I told Alan what I was looking to do. We spent about 3 years developing it. And we really weren't sure if anyone was going to buy it. We were like, all right, well, this is what I want. I don't know how this is going to go. Let's just start selling it online and see if people are interested. And we'll just start carrying cases around that we want to drink to CrossFit competitions and these mud runs and 5Ks and sharing it and sampling it. And we started doing that, and people kind of liked it. And we just kept at it. We went to every race that would have us and every CrossFit gym, box, whatever. We just lugged wine around and sold wine, which is a big jump. I mean, you're sampling wine at a place and then saying, people ask, the first question is, okay, wow, it doesn't taste like shit. which I thought it would, and B, I like this. Where do I buy it? And then you have to like get them to jump through the hoops of buying it online and waiting for the UPS driver and FedEx to deliver it. But people were willing to do it, so we just kept at it, and here we are. So it's been quite a ride.
So the obvious question now is that because if you're sampling this at like CrossFit boxes or any fitness events, why this particular wine over any other wine? Of course, the name lends itself, FitVine, but what makes it? Is it something that's going to help somebody with their performance, or is it going to allow them to enjoy the taste, the qualities of wine without other, additional stuff?
Yeah, you nailed it. Just like, it's allowing them to enjoy a glass of wine in the same way without what I call a little bit of the guilt. So, much like processed food that's out there, you can add quite a bit of stuff to wine to make it taste the same every single time you're opening up a brand that we all know. We see them all everywhere in supermarkets or what have you. And they do a few things to make sure that is standardized every single time. And when you think about it, when you bite into a banana or an orange or a piece of lettuce, it doesn't always taste the same because it's an agricultural product, right? And we just said, hey, you know what? We're going to try to make the best wine we can, keep the sugar as low as possible, and also go out there and lab test everything. So we test we don't add anything to the wine during the fermentation process, A, and then B, we go out there to a third-party lab and taste and test for, no pesticides, arsenic, really all the junk that's out there. We make sure that's not in the wine, and then keep the sugar as low as possible. And the taste, we went after a certain taste profile that we liked, and thank God other people like it as well. So that's just it. I mean, I like to call it the wine that you might want to drink on Sunday through Thursday, because you might have a couple glasses of wine after a rough day of work on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and just pop open a bottle of FitVine, have a glass or two, and you should be good to go. I mean, it's a whole part of a healthy lifestyle. In my lifestyle, alcohol is a part of it. I mean, I don't want to speak to any health benefits, but for me, it's a part of life. So it's been around for thousands of years, and it's something that I enjoy, and I think other people do too. So that's kind of the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. And it can possibly lend itself as somebody, as part of somebody's healthy lifestyle, because, if you look at all the blue zone where the centenarians are, a red wine is generally a part of their diet. Maybe that's a resveratrol or whatever it may be, but it's generally a part of it, the socializing, the Mediterranean style diet, and the red wine as well. I'm a red wine connoisseur myself. I consider myself a connoisseur. Even though I'm from Wales, I lived in Australia for 5 years, and I was living basically where the Rosemount estates were in the Hunter Valley. They were all around me, so that's what started me off back in 2000 now, back in 2000. Yeah. So I've liked my red wine. So when you came along, I thought, wow, this is something that I could possibly enjoy during the week every now and again, and not just save myself to like twice a year. Because like I said, I do like my red wine. So hats off for that. When it comes to the sugar content then, what sort of percentage of sugar are we talking about in comparison to a lot of the leading wines that you see on the shelves?
Yeah, I mean, we are, it's tough because everything's a little bit different to really nail a number, but a lot of times we can be, a third of the sugar of wine. Some are loaded with different products that allow it to taste a little bit sweeter. The American palate seems to love a sweeter wine, to be honest, and that's not what we're after. So our sugar is super low in all of our varietals. All of that's available on our website. So if you go to our website, you can actually get the breakdown of every single thing. So in our, it really depends on what we're comparing it to. And I get in trouble when I just throw numbers out there because it can be all over the map, but it's a significantly less amount of sugar than a lot of wines you'll see, in particularly the top, 20 wines that are sold in the U.S. So
quite a large percentage lower.
It's huge, yeah.
A huge percentage. Okay, like I've got the white here now, the Sauvignon Blanc. My girlfriend generally steers towards the white. I go towards the reds. Like when we got them, we got every single style that you've got, every one of them. I had the holiday red obviously over the Christmas period, but I have to say the Cab Sav the Cab Sauvignon is definitely my favorite. That is my number one. What's your
Yeah.
favorite?
We just came out with a Syrah. A Cab used to be my favorite, and that's our top selling wine. People love it. I think that's frankly why we're in business, because the Cab tastes so good and people love it, just like you. We just came out with a Syrah that I actually, for me personally, overtook the Cab as the number one wine. It's a grape that a lot of people aren't that familiar with, but it's just great tasting, and
Smooth.
super smooth, great finish. It's just available on our website. It's awesome. I love it. Yeah, I actually had some last night. It's fantastic. I'm going to send you some. I think I might win you over from the Cab. I mean, it's great. I love our Cab, but now the Syrah is the number one
Okay,
wine.
I'll definitely have to try that. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe not before my workout, possibly as part of my post-workout.
Right, perfect.
All right, so one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on the show is because I'm a CEO of a supplement company. And what I really liked is the similarities between your brand when I've listened to you on other podcasts, read about you, compared to what we do with our brand as well. We ensure that, for instance, with our amino acids, we don't use anything that's synthetic or derived with harsh chemicals or anything like that. We actually use fermented amino acids. As you know, you ferment it over a longer period. It costs a lot more. It's a lot more resources, and we ensure that we pass for instance, like the Prop 65 Act. We make sure that we don't have the heavy metal contaminants that you can find in supplements, especially a lot of the plant-based supplements. And I've noticed you do a lot of those tests as well with your products as well. Like, what are some of the things that you can find in wines, especially when you look at now? You look at how many wines are out there now. It's kind of like a convenience product. You have like your Diet Cokes, your sugary drinks, and you have your convenience candy bars, and you see the mass production of millions upon millions of these bottles, or cases, I should say. So it's understandable. You can't look at wine as what people seem to think that a wine could be. So what are the things that you should look out for that could possibly be in a wine on the shelves today?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. So, and you nailed it. I mean, we do take our time in the fermentation process. We don't try to speed it up or slow it down or try to get things done quickly through, additives or things like that. And you nailed it with the testing. So, like anything with processed foods, or people don't like the word processed wines or anything like that, but it's true. If you're doing stuff really, really quickly and trying to mass produce, you can get into trouble with that. So what we test for are, all the pesticides, your Roundups of the world. A lot of those pesticides in them around have arsenic in them. We test for that. We test for anything that you really wouldn't want to be put in your body that just might happen to have been, sprayed or, at one point or another, on grapes. I mean, you can go online and look, and if you Google arsenic wine, I mean, you probably will scare yourself a little bit. So we go through a tremendous amount of testing. It's expensive, to be honest, to test wine all the time, but we want to stand behind it, because people have been coming up to me from day one and saying, okay, is this wine going to make me strong? And have a laugh. I'm like, no, it's not. It's, all we're trying to do is put out the best possible product that we can do. And it costs us a little bit extra to do that, but we want to be able to stand behind it. So we go above and beyond to do all those testings and make sure that it's exactly how we want it and how we want our customers to drink. So I always go back to the whole processed food thing. I mean, if you are, up and down, not to beat up on any companies, but if you're loading up on orange food in the middle of the supermarket and then wondering why you have no energy, and I think most people are pretty aware, and certainly your audience is aware at this point. It's what you're putting in is what you're getting out of it. I mean, if you're putting junk in, I wouldn't expect to have a great workout. If you just loaded up on some Kraft macaroni and cheese, not bad. Hopefully that's not a huge lawsuit from that. So.
Yeah, you have to. I'm with you 100%. Like, there's so many times that I want to call out people or call out brands, but you can't. All you can do, instead of bashing on other products, is do what you do right and just try to hold yourself above, head and shoulders, and just come out with a better product and let the product do its talking as well. If you put out quality, you will get loyalty in the end.
That's exactly right. Absolutely correct. Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to the actual, when you're choosing the grape, obviously, like I said, coming from the supplement industry, we have to ensure that we get the certain type of, patented ingredient or fermented ingredient or organic ingredient. Make sure it's the correct source and you won't get it in the right efficacious dosage or whatever. Like when it comes to your grapes, when you're actually choosing the grapes that you're utilizing, is there a certain time within that process, within that season, within that year that you make sure that you choose that grape? Because I do understand that some companies may not do that, and maybe this is why it leads to their sugar content being a lot higher than what it should be. Can you go into that a little bit, please?
Yeah, sure. It's Chris. So there's something that in wine, and people make a more than it needs to be, but there's what's called a Brix level, which is the sugar level in the grapes. All we're doing is quite simple. We try to grate grapes a little bit earlier in the process, so they're a little bit less ripe. They don't have as much sugar in them prior to the fermentation process. So we are very careful about that. The timing is always sort of weather dependent. It's based on a couple of different factors. So we are very careful about that because our main thing is we want you to know there's a little bit less sugar in the wine, still 14% alcohol. That's part of the process. So we do that along with an extended fermentation process. We take our time with it. And then once we reach that point, then we send it off to the lab and make sure it meets all of our specifications and we can stand behind it. So it's sort of a three pronged approach. A little bit less sugar in the grapes, extended fermentation. Don't rush it. Don't add anything during that process, and then we do the lab test. So for us, that's about all we can do. We didn't, reinvent the wheel here. This isn't a process. People have been making wine for 4,000 years or whatever the number is. We're just trying to do it the right way and take our time with it.
Right. Okay. And when it actually comes to filtering, that grape into the wine, is there a particular, because I know that some people filter them through wheat, and then obviously you're led with, if you've got a gluten intolerance, you're given a wine that's going to, give you a gluten allergy. What sort of filtration are you using?
Yep, we do it. We don't use anything like that. I mean, you hear about all kinds of stuff about, we do a double filtration system. We do all the wines in stainless steel. We are, super careful about that. We're vegan friendly. You can hear about, fish bladders and filtration, anything like that. We don't do anything like that. And we filter our wines multiple times so that every time it's perfect. So
yeah, do you know what, you brought up a funny point there, because I remember when I was in Australia, this guy that I know, he used to buy the boxes, the boxes with the bladder inside. And I remember reading on the back, and it said may contain fish. And I thought, wow, fish in a wine. I'd never heard of anything like that until you just brought it up now.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. I mean, who knows? There's all kinds of, just like food. I keep going back to that, like a little bit of craziness, like that kind of unnecessary. Hey, you know what? I shouldn't say that. People could do whatever they want to do. That's great. And for their products, it's just not a product that I I'm interested in. So we wanted to do it our way. So that's the whole premise of the company. So here we are.
Okay. Yeah. And I understand that one of the reasons why the sugar can be higher is does some people either add, I know I've heard this somewhere, either add grape concentrate, like grape juice to it, or they filter it with grape concentrate. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, you're nailing it. I mean, exactly. So if let's say you're making, millions, and you want it to taste the exact same every time, and it's a little bit of a sweeter taste profile. There's 76 different additives that you can do. A lot of them are concentrates, which really means sugar that you're adding it to. So it hits that, gives you that sort of taste profile, that mouthfeel that people, the people that love it, and we all know, just like that sort of sugar-salt combo that the packaged food companies have sort of nailed, you know what I mean? That does something to your brain, and they want that to hit every single time. So all of those additives can be put in there. A lot of times they are grape, concentrates and juice concentrates, and it's just something we don't do at all.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, people that's what a lot of companies do when it comes to mass production. They look to hit in that bliss point, don't they? Whether it's additives, whether it's sugars, whether it's with vegetable oils or fats or whatever, or that combination, just to hit that bliss point, so you have that addiction. Eventually that headache goes away. Due to the dependency.
That's exactly right. I mean, I think a lot of people have mastered that over whatever, however many years, and it's a
Yeah.
different approach. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different approach. It's a different world. You look at a lot of the issues that people are dealing with today. It's increased mental disorders, bipolar, whether it be cancer, diabetes, obesity, heart disease. It's all going through the roof. And, our DNA hasn't changed at all, but our environment and the marketing towards it has definitely changed. So it's a minefield, and the biggest act of terrorism that's out there is what we're actually putting upon ourselves. So,
True.
we have to just really control it. And obviously, I tell people, hey, when it comes to my supplements, don't go by what I say. Go out there and research. Not back yourself up with the knowledge, or like Henry Rollins is saying, knowledge without knowledge is bullshit.
Yeah.
And you go out there, you learn, and then you can kind of you can't depend on anybody else out there, especially in the supermarkets. On your health is going to be their priority.
Absolutely right.
So one thing I want to mention as well, okay, is like when people have like a few glasses or maybe a bottle of red wine or whatever, and they have like a hangover or they got a headache even after a glass. What is that down to? Is it because of the sulfates? Is it because of a lot of sugars? Is it a combination of both with the dehydration? Do you know what that comes down to? Is it the sulfates? Because a lot of people say that, but is that
I think
true?
that's, I mean, sulfites are naturally occurring in the fermentation process, and certainly you can add some sulfites, and that a lot of people will get flushing or they'll blame the hangover on that, and it's a word that really people focus on. I tend to think it's a combination of things. I think if it's, in drinking, a lot of times you will end up dehydrating yourself and not having enough water, and if you're drinking, frankly, Chris, a shit product, that is loaded with sugar, loaded with who knows what else. Yeah, guess what? You're probably going to wake up the next day with feeling like dirt. And it's a little bit of a mystery. So all we can do is say, here's our product. We can't say you'll not get a hangover, and we don't want to say that really, to be honest. But we do want to say is, here's our product. We try to make it as clean as possible so that you can enjoy it. And hopefully, you never know how anyone's going to react. And we get a lot of very positive things sent back through social media about people, I never could drink wine and now I can, and that's great, but we can't really publicize that. So it's a fine line we have to walk. But I do think it all has to do with what's in the wine, or any alcoholic beverage. To be honest, we've all found ourselves not feeling great after probably ordering something, and then they'll give you something that was a bottom shelf or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing. You never know. I think it's decision making. So along the way, maybe have a few glasses of wine, and I can only speak for myself, and drink a couple of glasses of water, and if that product is well made, you're probably going to be in really good shape.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my mother, as an example, she's never been an alcohol drinker whatsoever. But when I gave her, she just has that bad reaction to it as well. But when she had the holiday red for Christmas and she had that wine, she absolutely loved it. She was fine. So it's good feedback knowing, okay, there's something clean that I can actually take in. It's not going to have an adverse effect. Because some people are more sensitive to some things than other. Like my father, he has a couple of hip issues. He probably should have had an operation about 15 years ago, but you know how that stubbornness sets in, But he uses a CBD, great, loves it. My mother tried it. She suffered from like depression for a couple of weeks. So, there's obviously something in it that she's sensitive to. Same with the wines, but now actually taking the FitVine, which is great. It's good. So, it makes you wonder what could possibly be in it.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to so many people, and there's so many issues out there. I do think it's a personal thing, but all we can say is we try to make it as clean as possible. We try to do our best to put our product out there, and hopefully, I don't know if it's for everyone, but I've heard a lot more positive reactions than negative along the way on this path. So that's been super positive.
That's great. Okay, so just stepping back a
Yeah.
little bit, you mentioned before, obviously there's a lot of things that we have to be concerned about when it comes to the wine. Is it sprayed in glyphosate, Roundup, herbicides, pesticides, what else? And when it comes to the water, the way that it's actually fed with the water, what is the water source that you're actually using to feed these vines?
We've got water that's out in Lodi that's been used to grow grapes for, God, I don't know, maybe 8 generations or 6 generations or something like that. Alan and Mike have been out there growing grapes for a long, long time with their families. These are old kind of Italians that ended up out in Lodi, California, and the grapes were part of their life in Italy with their family, and the grapes became a part of their life in the New World. And so there's water rights that we access that have been there forever. That water's clean. It's filtered when we do the winemaking process. So we actually test the water all the time as well. And we try to conserve the water, in our process. So in the grape growing process, it's something that is clearly an issue in California. Everyone's heard about it. Water rights are a big deal. Access to that water, has been difficult in certain areas at times. And we want to make sure that the water, which is a main part of the winemaking process, is as great as possible. So we also test the water all the time, and we feel very, very confident in it.
That's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that, because I know that's one of the major concerns out there now. And they say it's one of the contributing factors for the lowering of testosterone in our generation now. The younger generation, they say it's almost 3 times as low as what it was just like 65 years ago. And
Wow.
part of that contributing factor, obviously, we're surrounded by EMF rays now, plastics, microwaves, stress, you name it, and 5G coming around the corner. But one of the things as well is the water system, because a lot of waters aren't tested out there, and that is drinking water. And there's a lot of estrogenic facts in it, whether it be birth control or other contributing factors. So it's really good to hear that you're very clean there. So it gives me a good peace of mind. So tell me now, it's been awesome to actually, kind of use your product when I felt like I was part of a cult using your product. But now, it's what's really good is that I go into the local Albertsons here, the local Whole Foods, and it's there front and center, which is good, because this is an issue, obviously, as you said, as I mentioned earlier, in the US, particularly with so much convenience, so much fast food, so much junk that is terrorizing our bodies. But we've actually got something that's clean that we can enjoy here in moderation, of course. So what is the future now with you guys with FitVine? Are you looking to expand? Like you said, you just come out with your Syrah. So, are you going to be expanding more products, more flavors? What's next?
Yeah, I mean, I think we finally have, not finally, we work really hard to get distribution in all 50 states in the U.S., which, in the alcohol world, we still have this 3-tiered system that was set up after Prohibition, where we have us, the producer, then in the middle you have a distributor, and then you have the retailer or restaurants, which they call on or off premise. So it's an interesting model. I've never worked with it in the past, so it took us a while to wrap our arms around it and find out who we could work with. We've got some great partners at the distributor level now, and we're in all 50 states. Now we're moving out into supermarkets like the Whole Foods and Albertsons and Vons in Southern California, and Pavilion down there, and Stop and Shop on the East Coast. Like great partners for us. And we're doing a ton of samplings in those stores all over the U.S. So we try to get what we call lips to glass all over the U.S. Come in, try the product, and see if you like it or not. You really never know if you're going to like it until you try it. So that's why we have our tasting teams all over the U.S. every Thursday through Sunday in pretty much anywhere, any place that'll have us. We've always been that way, and we're not going to stop. So if there's an event that we can be at and they have the right we'll show up with wine and sample it for people. So if you don't want to have an event, or any of your listeners want to have some sort of wine at an event that they're doing, we'll do it. Just contact us via social media. So there's that. We're 50 states. Online, we are going to try to do, some unique small batch products like the Syrah, and we have a prosecco now that we sell online, and it's just there for the cult people like you're talking about. So there's some. If you want to buy from us online and not go to your supermarket, then we might have a couple of special things that are only online on our website, and you can have that shipped right to your house. So that's what we're working on now.
Great stuff. Well, and what are the rules and regulations in going into supplement stores? I guess is that's because you're alcohol that we won't be seeing you on the GNC or Vitamin Shop or bodybuilding.com anytime soon.
Exactly right. So they're very strict. This three-tiered system. You have to have a permit every town. It's funny. It's a strange world. There used to be local liquor stores only, right, all over. You'd see every town had their 1 or 2 or 10, whatever. Now a lot more supermarkets are in the game, but I think that's where it'll. And we can ship, for our internet sales all over, which is great. But the GNCs, the supplements, that's a different world. That's almost like alcohol and cannabis will never cross, even though, and so I think alcohol and supplements won't either. So, yeah. Separate stores.
Yeah. Okay, well, I hope that I'll be going to some restaurants very soon and I will see that on the menu so I can choose a glass of FitVine every time that I can want to pair it with my dish.
That'd be fantastic.
And maybe in the future, if I decide that I'd love to have a Cab Sav flavor as my pre-workout, maybe we can work together on that.
We can help you out with that. Absolutely, Kris. Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate you joining me here, Tom. So anybody who actually wants to, try out the FitVine or purchase a FitVine, I will put the links in the show notes directed to the website. But as I mentioned, there's, and as Tom mentioned, there's plenty of supermarkets out there now, including the Whole Foods that I've noticed anyway, that has the product. And I do suggest that you do go out there and try it because it does taste really, really good. And knowing that you're getting a lot less sugar than general products out there and a lot less crap that could be in other products in there, you're going to be playing it a lot safer with FitVine. So thank you very much, Tom. I really appreciate your time and congratulations on all your success. I'm really happy for you.
What a pleasure. And I want to talk more to you about Henry Rollins someday. Let's do it.
We'll do it. Let's do it.
All right.
It'd be rude not to.
All right. Cheers, then. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you.